All right. We are back here at Song of the Day, coming to you from the Rock Cave and the Rock Cave in Atlanta-ish.
Close enough.
Close enough. We are here with Michael Murray here in the Rock Cave. We are in the middle of March Madness, wrapping up season 5. I can't believe we're at season 5. It's hard to believe, but we are chugging along, and we're here. This is the 6th episode out of 6 days, so we are keeping this tournament run going.
It's impressive for you nowadays.
Yes, exactly. Think about the COVID years where I did one a day for every day for at least a year, and then so many, and now we are on 9. This is I think this is the 90th episode in this season 5, which is by my standards, I mean, a little less than stellar, but we're still, I mean, if someone does 90 episodes in a season, I still got a lot on Jimmy Fallon and on Saturday Night Live, so we're good.
There you go. You're kind of like, what's his name? The English guy on Last Week Tonight. You know, you just do that, the short season. Yes. It still counts.
Yes, that's right.
He still won the Emmy.
Yeah, that's true. So we are here. We actually made an episode maybe 6 weeks ago. I don't know how long ago.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Yeah,
we made this episode, and I tried doing it on Teams, and I hate to say this, but I had some technical issues. And we have an episode out there on a hard drive that is us talking about this topic, and there's no audio. It's just us talking. So for those of people who can read lips, maybe we could post that for you. But we are back here finally to do it right and to get this episode out because it's been a long time coming. I see
you. Cat's being obnoxious.
St. Patrick's Day Boston green shirt on, appropriate for this week. Nice. Perfect for the occasion. All right, you and I, we talk a lot of music, and when it was time to come around to talk about a band, this was your idea, and when you said it, I was like, perfect, right up my alley. I love this band, so what are we here to talk about, Michael?
We are going to talk about Barenaked Ladies, a band out of Canada, Ontario, Canada, actually, my old home province for a couple of years. But yeah, they were one of the biggest bands in Canada for the last 15, 20 years. And known to most of your viewing audience, I'm sure, because they sing the theme song from Big Bang Theory.
Right. If you didn't know that, then now you know that, but you know the song, right? So,
right.
Yeah, Canadian band. Hopefully, no tariffs on their music right now. Well, hopefully, we'll listen for that for the usual cost of anything. But formed in 1988, they are still active to this day. Ed Robertson, Stephen Page, schoolmates, high school mates. They knew kind of about each other. They went to a Peter Gabriel concert maybe separately and then met, and they were
met up. Yep.
Hey, we like the same music. We should start chatting. And they put themselves together as a duo. They start talking about that. They go to a Bob Dylan show together, and they're like, yeah, we're going to do this, and we're going to name ourselves Barenaked Ladies. And I think they thought it was a joke, and they were just going to be kind of fooling around and funny and have it not really go anywhere at first, right?
Yeah, and they actually took off around Canada, and it took a while before they got big down in the States. But this is another one of those bands where they had a change in the lead singer, because as you'd mentioned, Stephen Page was at one point a founding father of the band. As they got bigger and bigger, the stress of touring and all that unfortunately led to some differences in the band, as it was announced on their website, and he later came out to say that he was addicted to cocaine and alcohol, and decided for his own health and the benefit of his family that he was dropping out of the band, and he I think in the previous episode of this issue, we talked about how he formed a trio with his two sons, and he's actually doing really well now, although not on the same level as the Big Bang Theory, but or as Bare Naked Ladies. But yeah, he's doing really well. So that's a great comeback story for him. I'm really happy for him.
Yeah, absolutely. They were doing their thing. They were interested in comedy groups, and they were like putting comedy in their performances. And their first album came out in 1992, Gordon, which had an amazing number of hits. Enid, Be My Yoko Ono, If I Had $1 Million, and Brian Wilson, all on their debut album. I have been trying to figure out when I first heard them because I don't know if it was not 1992, by the way. It was much later.
No.
Like I mean, I don't know where I don't know what I have no explanation for that other than whatever I was listening to, it didn't involve hearing that music because it was much later that I got some kind of compilation album. Like, you know, you used to be able to get like either New Music Now always came with a CD, or like you check out
Hmm.
at a record at a store and they had a CD that you would just grab. And that's like the first time I heard If I Had $1 Million. Like it was after 1997. This was when I was married, and I heard that for the first time, and
Okay.
I was like, oh, I really like this. So I was late to the Bare Naked Ladies game, but that this Gordon came out in '92. They put out a record in '96 with The Old Apartment, which was a
Hmm.
standard of theirs now. And then finally Stunt in 1998 with 1 Week, which spent
Right.
1 week at number one.
Yeah.
Chicken China, the Chinese chicken, watching X Files with no lights on. I mean, that was
Yeah.
perfect for modern rock, right?
Yeah. It was great stuff. I actually found out about them through a friend of mine who knew about them from like early on. And he kept on posting on his Facebook page about how great this band was. Um, and I think I told you, as in the last episode, we told you the story. He was a game writer for Wizards, actually, it was TSR at the time, Dungeons and Dragons. He wrote all the books for that. And he found out that the guys in the band were big nerds, which
Mhm.
if you listen to their music, it's very apparent.
Really?
But they were big D&D nerds, so he got a hold of their manager and said, "Hey, you guys are playing in Wisconsin. It's where I'm from. Um, I've got preview copies of the new D&D manuals that are coming out. I'd love to give it to the guys if I can meet them." And so they set up a meet and greet where he got to bring in, some sample books. And he said, "Yeah, I was so nervous. I walked in and I was like starstruck. And as soon as I walked in the door, like the whole band just went berserk. They're like, 'Oh my God, the D&D guy's here. This is great.'" And they're like, so he had a great time and he talked about their music quite a bit. So I started listening to it. And that would have been right around the time that Rock Spectacle came out.
Okay.
So I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to look up the date on that, but that was sometime that was before 1 Week came out. So of course they don't have it on the thing I'm looking at. Anyway, you don't want me like staring at the TV.
Made
But
that you
yeah, they. I got another friend of mine called me one day and said, "Hey, I've got an extra ticket to the Oakdale over Wallingford to see this band, Bare Naked Ladies. You want to come?" And I was like, "Well, I don't really know any of their songs, but let's go." And it was fantastic. The sing-alongs with the crowd, like, I felt like I was, not part of it because I didn't know all the words, but it was such a fun environment that I didn't care, and just it was a great time. And of course, I immediately went out and got all the CDs because back then you couldn't download anything on the computer. It was pre-internet or pre-Napster, I should say. But yeah, it's great stuff. It's an interesting contrast between the silly songs like 1 Week,
yeah.
and more serious like ballady almost songs like uh, Yeah, I know Brian Wilson is a good one, or This Old Apartment is another
Yeah,
example of that, where Stephen Page really, shows off his vocal chops, and he can actually really sing pretty well. Um, so
yeah.
interesting contrast of music in the band.
Comedy and the seriousness, right? So they're a band that you must see live because that's the thing. You sometimes you go see a band live and that changes. Like then you buy all their stuff. Whereas if you heard their studio, you may or may not have been
Yeah.
attracted to that music, and that's happened to me many times where I saw a bit after I saw a band live, I was like, oh, I get it now, and I wanted to buy their stuff, but I was certain that if you just played it for me, I just was not interested. And so we were already
Mhm.
in Sarah and I, my wife, were already in the middle of it, obviously, with the 1 week stuff. And then it came out with Maroon in 2000, and that had Pinch
Mhm.
Me on it, which was a decent hit. But that record for me could be a Wanderlust Wednesday because there's a lot of songs on there that are really great songs that maybe people don't really know about. Too Little Too Late, Never Do Anything,
Mhm.
Falling for the First Time. These are all great songs. I think people need to check out Maroon from 2000. But the one that we always cracked up about was Conventioners, which is this song about people who do conventions, right? But
Mhm.
it's almost like a loungy song. It's
Right.
slow and it's loungy, but Conventioners we always just cracked up about it. I mean, we played Maroon way more than we played any other Bare Naked Ladies record, and we love that record. And then we saw them somewhere along the way for because they're famous for their Christmas shows. They did a Christmas show. I read that they did a Christmas show before they even put out a record or a label. Like when they were early, they
Mhm.
they like put out they did a Christmas concert and they put it on a cassette and they like released it as like they handed it out to people before they had a
Right. Right.
demo,
Yeah.
But they did their first Christmas show pretty early, and they're pretty famous for doing Christmas shows. And they did one at um, in Hartford at Bushnell, right?
Bushnell. Yep.
And we went to that show. We just figured that out that we were both at that
Yes.
show.
We didn't go together, but we
Yeah,
both went to the show.
I don't know what year that was, but it must have been the late '90s, right? Or
That was, I have a list of
the
all the concerts
2000s.
I
I
went
don't
to
know.
with dates. That was on an Excel spreadsheet, which is
Yeah.
now deleted somewhere. I got to try and
It was
find
in
it
the early
again.
2000s. I don't know, but we were there at the same time, and maybe it was right around two. I don't know what it was, but all I know is I
It
went.
was very late 90s or very early 2000s.
I had
So
my first child.
99 to
I bet there was.
2002 in there
I bet there
somewhere.
was like early '99 or something before I had my first child because I was not going to concerts for a while. Um,
All right.
but that sealed the deal when I saw them on the stage, the banter between them and their engagement with the crowd and the comedy, but the seriousness, the musicianship, awesome. I mean, it's just so good.
Absolutely. I think they have a live album called Rock Spectacle, which is hands down one of my favorite live albums. I know that was one of your episodes you had a little while ago. Um, to listen to that gives you a good feel for how their shows go, because it's constant back and forth between the band members, the audience. They're telling stories, they're having a good time. I mean, to me, that's the kind of concert you want to go to, where you're just not watching somebody who's technically amazing, blazing away on his guitar.
Right.
I mean, it was just a lot of fun. It's kind of like Rod Stewart. I mean, I'm not the biggest Rod Stewart fan in the world. We went and saw him live, and it was such a great show that I became a Rod Stewart fan.
Right.
So
Right.
I mean, if you have the opportunity to see them live, definitely take it. It's a lot of fun. It's really a good time.
Yeah, and so we saw them. So when COVID hit, we had tickets to their last Summer on Earth show. They got delayed.
Yep, so did I.
And so we ended up finally, it was our first concert after when, like, once we were able to go, the first concert we went to was that. And we saw them, so in this tour they do regularly, they're doing it again this year. But with
Mhm.
Gin Blossoms, and Toad the Wet Sprocket. And so that was like 3 years ago and still amazing to this day. Just great entertainers and worth it. If you love live music, just go. Even if you think you only know those three songs we just talked about, it's hugely entertaining, and live music is life. It's excellent.
It's a lot of fun. Unfortunately, we had tickets. Our show was canceled, and I think we ended up like after a year, they still hadn't rescheduled it, so we just got the money back. And of course, then they came back around, and we couldn't get tickets. So typical story. But yeah, they are coming back around down here in the summer.
Yep.
We're going to try and go see them this time since we missed them last time.
Yeah.
But absolutely recommend them. Like I said, the first show I've seen them 3 or 4 times now. The first time I literally did not know a single song, and it was top 3 concert of all time in my book. It
Okay.
was just so much fun. You don't need to know the songs. You just go and have fun. You can, you know, kind of fake the sing along if you have to, but the audience is going to sing along, and you'll enjoy it. It's a good time.
All right. I love it. If I have to pick a song of the day, we didn't talk about that ahead of time. I'm gonna make people deep dive and listen to either Conventioners or Too Little Too Late from Maroon in 2000. Um, so that's what I'm gonna pick for my song of the day. You tell me
Okay.
what do you
I still absolutely love the old apartment,
oh, good.
and if I had $1 million, the live version, not the studio version.
Where you kind of talk.
Those would be my two.
Oh, yeah.
Um, either one is great, and I think all 4 of those songs you mentioned are actually really good. So I think it would be a good representation of their music and what they can do, outside of 1 week and outside of the Big Bang Theory theme song.
I think if someone listened to all 4 of those songs, they might say to themselves, "I think I'm a Barenaked Ladies fan."
I think so. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And that's the Rock Cave. That's what we do, right? We just share a
Yeah.
love of music.
Well, I think you share the enthusiasm for the groups, and you get people excited about, well, I don't really know them, but we're going to give it a shot, and click on the link that Mark posted. And next thing you've downloaded every album they ever had. And you're like, sitting in your room alone at night with the headphones on, and your wife's telling you, screaming at you to come down for dinner. And you're like, I'll be down in a minute. Mm,
Mission accomplished.
yep, absolutely.
All right, brother. That wraps up another episode. I have no idea how many minutes we're at. Doesn't really matter, but because it's always fun talking and chatting about music, and Barenaked Ladies deserve the time that we gave them because they're that good.
They
Um,
are that damn good.
right.
And I like to once again remind everybody, this officially number 5. I'm waiting for my jacket.
Right. I gotta find it. You gotta
Paul
talk about.
Chabot, I'll never catch you, but
um,
you know what? I had to get the 5 in before Mark decides he doesn't want to do this anymore.
Right, well,
So
you're
we're good.
5 and 5, so that's good. And Paul lives 3/4 of a mile from me, so he's got that. He's got the advantage. But
I think Frank's got me too, but yeah, it's all right. It's fine.
who's count? Well, we'll even up at some point. Because
It's all good.
there will be a season 6, so I'm not going anywhere.
All right, excellent.
I like to tease
Well, I'll
every.
tell you what, the I need a season 6, because otherwise, when I come down in the morning and turn on my computer while I'm eating my breakfast, it's either watching you or watching the news, and I'd much rather watch
Oh,
you.
yeah. All right, even if it's 17 minutes or 14 minutes of something, whatever, it's still better than the news. So I'll take it.
That's right.
All right, Michael, we're going to take it out. Another excellent episode. Barenaked Ladies here in the Rock Cave. That's your song of the day, the 4 that you need to listen to. Tune them in today, whatever you're doing today. I hope it involves music. And as usual, we'll
Catch you on the flip side.
If I had $1 million, now it'd take a limousine 'cause it costs more. If I had $1 million.